Okay, Algebra 2 Honors test review number 1. So, which is greater, negative 1/3 or negative 2/5? If you're not sure, you can go ahead and put it in your calculator, and you're going to find out that's 0.33, and negative 2/5 is negative 0.40. So, which one's closer to 0? Okay, so 0.33 is bigger, so the answer should be B. Going on, number 2. All right, 20.28 and the square root of 256. Well, the square root of 256, if you're not sure, you can just plug that in your calculator, okay? And that should kind of solve some problems for us. So, let's see if we can put this in our calculator. The square root of 256, and again it should be 16, and it is. So which is bigger? Well, 20.28 is. So the answer is C. Alright, negative absolute value of negative 16 and absolute value of 5. Well, that'll be negative 16, that'll be 5. So 5 is always bigger, so the answer would be C. Okay, number 4. Find the opposite and the reciprocal. Well, the opposite of 500 is just negative 500. All right. The reciprocal is just 1 over the number. We just remember flip it. 1 over 500. So the answer should be B. Number 5. Simplify. The absolute value of negative 11 plus 3. Well, negative 11 plus 3 is negative 8. So the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. So the answer is B. Moving on. Evaluate the expression. Okay. H equals negative 2. So we're just going to plug it in. 4 times 3 times negative 2 minus 6 all over 1 plus negative 2. So doing the order of operations, we can rewrite this as 4 times negative 6 minus 6 over 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So this is going to be 4 times negative 12 all over negative 1. So it's going to be negative 48 over negative 1, which should be just positive 48. Answer would be B. Number 7. Again, just got to plug in our value of x equals negative 3. So negative, in parentheses, negative 3 squared minus 4 times negative 3 minus 4. So what's negative 3 squared? Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. So it's going to be negative 9. Okay, negative 4 times negative 3. So it's going to be plus 12 minus 4. So sum like terms, it's going to be negative 13 plus 12, which when you add those together, you're going to get negative 1. The answer is B. 8. Combine like terms. So step 1, let's distribute that negative 3 because it's on the outside of the parentheses. So it's going to become 12y minus 9 plus 7y. Well, I got like terms with the y's, so sum them. So I'm going to get 19y minus 9. Okay, 19y minus 9. So the answer in this case would be A. All right, we are rolling. Number 9. Solve it. 3y plus 20 equals 3 plus 2y. So let's just set it up. 3y plus 20 equals 3 plus 2y. Subtract 2y to each side. Get the y's on one side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 2y to each side. I'm going to rewrite it. So I'm going to get y plus 20 equals 3. Subtract 20 to each side. Y is going to equal negative 17. And that looks like D is our answer. Okay, number 10. All right, 1/4 R minus 1/16 plus 1/2 R plus 1/2 plus R. Okay, there's a few things we can do. We could just multiply both sides of the equation by 16 and then go from there. So, I mean, you don't have to do it that way. There's a few other ways you could do it, but let's just go ahead and do that. Multiply the left and the right by 16. Because whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do the other. So that's going to become 16 over 4R, which will reduce to 4R, minus 16 over 16, which will reduce to minus 1, plus 16 over 2R, which would be plus 8R, equals 16 over 2, which would be 8, plus 16R, which would be 16R. Now we just sum like terms and we solve. So let's go ahead and rewrite this as 12R minus 1 equals 8 plus 16R. It really doesn't matter how we do it. I'm going to subtract 12R because I like to keep my variables positive. So we get negative 1 equals 8 plus 4R. So I'm going to subtract 8 to each side. So I'm going to get negative 9 equals 4R. Divide each side by 4. So R is going to equal negative 9 over 4. Answer C. Alright, number 11. Oh, just got to do a little bit of math, not a big deal. Distribute and solve for x. So we're going to distribute the 6. So we're going to get 6x minus 4.8. Okay, now we're going to distribute the negative 2. So plus negative x plus (0.8) equals 6. So sum like terms. So I'm going to get 5x minus 4 equals 6. Add 4 to each side. I'm going to get 5x equals 10. Divide each side by 5. X equals 2. All right. Rolling now. Number 12. The absolute value. 3 times the absolute value of 3x plus 4 minus 7 equals 5. Well, we got to isolate the absolute value sign first. So I got 3 absolute value sign of 3x plus 4 minus 7 equals 5. Well, let's add 7 to each side. So I get 3 absolute value of 3x plus 4 equals 12. Divide each side by 3, so I'm going to get absolute value of 3x plus 4 is equal to 4. Alright, now, since I have absolute value signs, I'm going to add OR and plug in this. Absolute value, well, I'm going to get rid of the absolute value signs actually, because it could equal 3x plus 4 equals negative 4. So now I just solve for both these equations. So on the right side, I'm going to subtract 4 to each side. So I'm going to get 3x equals 0. Divide each side by 3, so x equals 0. Or subtract 4 to each side. I'm going to get 3x equals negative 8. Divide each side by 3, so x is going to equal negative 8 thirds, which could be written as negative 2 2/3. So my answer is 0 or negative 2 2/3. Answer is B. Next problem, number 13. Solve for x and state any restrictions. Well, first thing, let's get x by itself on one side of the equation. So I got ax plus bx. I'm going to subtract 9 to each side, so I'm going to get equals to negative 2. I'm going to factor out the GCF, which is x. I'm going to get a plus b equals negative 2. Divide each side to by a plus b, so x equals negative 2 over a plus b. So what are my restrictions? Well, my restrictions are I can't have a denominator of 0, so a cannot equal b. Because if they equaled each other, the denominator would be 0. So my answer is negative 2 over a plus b. Alright. Oh, and a cannot equal, sorry, negative b. I screwed that one up. Answer would be b. Alright. Two cars leave Denver at the same time and travel in opposite directions. One car travels 10 miles an hour faster than the other car. The cars are 500 miles apart in 5 hours. How fast is each car traveling? Well, let's just draw a little diagram. One guy is going this direction, and he's going x. This guy's going opposite direction, but his rate is x plus 10. So we have a thing saying distance equals rate times time. Okay, so in 5 hours, let's look at it. The distance they had gone of the first one, the distance would equal his rate, which was x, times 5, because that was the time. The distance the other guy went was x plus 10 times 5. Okay, does that kind of make sense? And the total distance when you add them together was 500 miles. So here's what I'd have. I'd have 500 miles equals 5x plus 5 times x plus 10. Okay. So I'm going to get 500 equals 5x. I'm going to distribute that 5 plus 5x plus 50. So I'm going to subtract 50 each side. So I'm going to get 450 equals, I'm going to go ahead and add the two 5x's together, equals 10x. Divide each side by 10, so x equals 45. So if one car was going 45, this guy was going 10 more. So he had to be going 45 plus 10, which would have been 55. So I'm looking for somebody going 45 and 55. The answer is C. All right, number 15. Solve the inequality, graph the solution. Here we go. I have negative 4x plus 5 is less than or equal to 21. Subtract 5 to each side. I'm going to get negative 4x, or 4k, less than or equal to 16. Divide each side by negative 4. I'm going to do it in red because remember, when we divide by a negative number, what must happen to our inequalities? They've got to flip. So k is going to be greater than or equal to negative 4. So which one shows k is greater than or equal to negative 4? The answer is A. 16. Graph the inequality. So I've got 2 times 4y minus 5 is less than negative 10. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's divide each side by 2. You could distribute it, but it's just going to take more time. So I get 4y minus 5 is less than negative 5. I'm going to add 5 to each side, so I'm going to get 4y is less than 0. Divide each side by 4. Y is less than 0. Answer is C. Okay, number 17. Solve the compound inequality. There's an OR statement. So I got 4x minus 5 is less than negative 17. 5x plus 5 is greater than negative 31 or positive 31.